The St. Louis Blues have a serious problem as they drop am I even reading this right, Darius? An 8-3 loss to the Chicago Blackhawks.
To the Chicago Blackhawks. 5 goals. They lost by 5 goals. We're going to get into everything here today. They have a serious problem. There's some stuff to like. Let's not forget about that stuff. We're going to touch on that in this video as well. But before we jump into all of that, we've noticed that a large percent of you are not subscribed to the channel, roughly 70% of you. So if you're part of that percentage and you're a Blues fan and you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the Blues, go down below, hit that free subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on with the St. Louis Blues. But it's no surprise, Mark. We got to get into it. There's some things with this team that are not right so far. And I think that a lot of people were chalking it up to, hey, it's only 4 games into the season. It's only 5 games into the season. Things will be fine. Who's starting tonight? We don't know. Hofer's going to be playing more this season because of the Olympics and all this stuff in the condensed schedule. They have a problem. And it looks like it's one on defense because Jake Neighbors looks awesome. But Mark, what did you see last night? Because it wasn't much. There was a lot of mistakes. And this team needs to fine-tune a couple things, or games like this are going to continue to happen. And listen, I know the Blackhawks are poised to be better this year. Dropping a game like that to the Blackhawks is not good.
And I think the big thing is, listen, every team is going to have a stinker. Losing 8-3 against the Blackhawks is unacceptable. This is a team, a rival. You cannot do this. You can't give ammunition to the Chicago fans. This is the last thing you want to do. And I think the biggest thing is, listen, there is a lot to like about this Blues team. You can look at the scores. Jake Neighbors is coming alive. Jimmy Snuggerud has really stepped up. The young guys are firing. But when working down, there's not a lot of production, I should say, out of some key players. And listen, there's one in particular. You can look at the advanced stats from the game last night that we're really going to dive into. But listen, I can give you 8 reasons on why this team stunk last night, why they did not play good. But there are a lot of underlining things that make the St. Louis Blues look a bit better than we expected. But Darius, I think it falls back onto having to figure out internally what this team's doing. Now, we did see a lot of misplays. We've seen the Hofer throwing it up the middle and then just turning it over completely for a wide open net. But I think the biggest question around the team and what Jim Montgomery is going to have to start looking at is who is really bought in. What are you going to do to change this team? Because you're not going to go out. You're not going to blow things up. You're not going to trade a Robert Thomas. You're not going to go and look and say, hey, Pius Suter, you're gone at deadline. But I think there is something internally you need to kind of turn around to get this team back to what we seen last season.
And one thing we've been talking about on the channel the last couple of days is Logan Mailloux, by all the advanced analytics and just even the eye test, hasn't looked good, right? And we were chalking it up to maybe it was that defense pairing. Maybe they need to get him away from Tyler Tucker because in theory, it would be fun to have the kids playing together and guys with, little NHL experience playing together, and that could be fun to deploy, but it looked like it wasn't working. So then they put him with Broberg and they look great, right? And you brought it up a couple videos ago that the advanced analytics, everything, the eye test, again, they looked fantastic. Well, 2 of the worst players in terms of advanced analytics on the ice last night. And listen, it's not all of their fault. When you're in a game and your goaltender, and Joel Hofer, and I love the guy, and he played great the other night, is throwing pizzas up the middle, tape to tape, to the other team, that is not a defense thing. You can't do that. And again, it was only 1 goal. And I'm not going to blame the entire game on one player or one defenseman in particular or one defense pairing. But this is something that they have to sort out, and they need to figure out what they are in terms of what their identity is. We thought we knew what it was, but when you're losing games like this, that's definitely not what it is. A high scoring team, or you have a couple lines that can score and you're a hard team to play against. That's not necessarily the identity I'm getting right now, especially with some of the goaltending performances, which haven't been that bad, but last night was a bit of a joke, let's be honest. So hopefully they can get over this. They need to figure out who they are exactly as the season goes on. And listen, I'm not exactly ready to hit the panic button. All of that to say this, right? Not ready to hit the panic button, but they have to start to figure it out, because if this bleeds to game 15, game 20 of the season, then you will be in trouble, right? So Jim Montgomery's got to reel this in a little bit. Last night had a lot to do with the goaltending, but those defense pairings, they need to figure that out. Now, on the flip side of things, Mark, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that, but on the flip side of things, a guy like Jake Neighbors, Jimmy Snuggerud, like a couple of these guys have looked good this year. And Snuggerud, there's a lot been talked about him being moved down to the third line as a demotion. I don't see it that way. I think they've found a good pairing there with him and Suter, and they seem to be finding something the last couple of games. So I think it's a good thing. So a couple guys are going. We saw Holloway with a great goal. Hollywood is on the board. He looks pretty good, right? So there's some things to like with the team, but collectively they need to get it together because it has not been there, the entire season. They've had moments, that's for sure. But last night, that's unexcusable. That's got to be a wake-up call, I think, from the coach to a lot of these players. And they got to figure out what's going on with the bottom of that defense as well, because they're trying different pairings now, and, it doesn't look the greatest. And if you look at the advanced analytics, it might not turn around as fast as we think.
And I think the big thing is, listen, we're only a couple of games into the season. We can look at this in a couple of ways. You look at 2019. What did the Blues do? They stunk coming out of the gates, winning a Stanley Cup in the same season. But coming out with this team, with a rejuvenated team, a team that took a President's Cup winner all the way to Game 7. This is a team that inspires me better, and I do expect Monty to light the fire underneath these guys. We've seen him do it before. We've seen him when he came to St. Louis. Monty is a very good coach, not only when drawing up plays and everything like this, but also going out to get everyone bought in. This is a bit of a new group. You have new faces in the lineup. Bukestad, someone that's coming through. Texas getting in the lineup early. Joseph, even Suter. The bottom six have a lot of guys that weren't in the lineup a lot, or just new guys within the team, but this is still unexcusable when you're looking at the defensive end. And listen, we've talked about it a bunch. We've seen the comments. We did a video that a lot of people misinterpreted where we're talking about Logan Mailloux, but looking at the numbers, there is a serious question floating around this series. Looking at last night's game, a -4. He only has 6 hits on the season, someone that was going to go out and supposedly to hit a lot. We have no points over the first 4 games. Yes, he is 24 years old. There is a very bright future for a player like this within the Blues team, but for a team that's looking to make the push, you have a couple options. Maybe you bring Matthew Kessel in for a game or two just to let Logan Mailloux mentally get back. He might go to Springfield or stay with the group and just travel with them and not get into a few games. Maybe you even call up a guy like Hunter Skinner that we see Monty rave about. Fans loved him. Darius looking at Logan Mailloux, and once again, this is not just on him. We're not going to sit here and say Logan Mailloux, if gone, is going to change the team completely. I think Logan Mailloux has very good value, but just a very young and raw defenseman that hasn't had a start to the season like this before. We've seen stints in the NHL, 7 games with Montreal. One the year previous. He's 11 or 12 games into his NHL career. But looking at this, would you be shocked if Monty didn't look at the situation saying, hey, we're going to give you a little break, mentally get back into this. We're going to work with you. We want you to succeed. You have an apartment here. I told you to get it. Do you think Monty might shake things up on that back end?
Maybe a little bit, but by way of Matthew Kessel to maybe settle things down a little bit. And I want to preface this by saying it's a problem right now. And this thing that we're saying that they need to figure out, this problem that they have, is not necessarily sending Logan Mailloux down to the AHL. It's nothing like that. Keep him on the team. I think the problem here is, how do you support this player? You have a raw player, like you said, that has very little NHL experience, but does have a lot of skills and things that should have him in the lineup, but things aren't going great to start the season so far. I do truly believe he will figure it out and that he'll be fine. And at some point, you're going to look back at that trade and be like, that was a good idea because of what the Blues needed in that moment. I do truly believe that. But right now, this Blues team needs to figure out, how do we support and put this guy in the best possible position to succeed, because it's not necessarily happening right now. And I don't know what that is. I don't think you can split up that top defense pairing, but throughout the rest, maybe try some different things. And they're already starting to experiment with that. And for a second, it looked like that experiment with Broberg was going to work, and that would have been fine. But I think they need to continue to figure that out, because you've made your bed. You're at this point now. But maybe keeping him out for a game, put Kessel in, see if it settles things down a little bit. If it doesn't, then you can identify other areas where you're lacking as well and start to fine-tune those. All of this to say, I think the Blues ultimately will be okay. You just can't let some of these things bleed too far. You have to start addressing them once you get to the 5-game mark, the 10-game mark of a season. Start nipping those in the bud, because once we get closer to April, they become habits, right? And bad habits. So ultimately, I think Logan Mailloux is going to be fine. He'll figure it out. I'm not saying send him to a different realm or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about that. Keep him on the team, but settle things down a little bit and figure out a game plan to get him going, because he's struggling right now, and it could actually mess with his confidence. And when a young player doesn't have confidence like that, it could lead to being sent down to the AHL, which we've seen around the league. That does help sometimes. Let's not get to that point. I think he's got it in him. I think the team is better than what they've shown so far. So hopefully they show us that.
And I mean, Blues fans, what is your thoughts on this? What do you think the underlying issue with this team? Is it not enough offense coming through? Is the goaltenders not stepping up? Because I do think both of these things are positive. I do think the Blues have the offense there. I think the goaltenders are just having a rough start. Both very good. One of the best tandems in the entire NHL. What is your guys' thoughts on everything around the Blues? Listen, when we get the picture of the Stanley Cup 2026 with the St. Louis Blues hoisting the cup, the road's going to look hilarious when this is the start and you go to the Stanley Cup Finals and win it all. Let us know your thoughts down below, and we'll go straight into comments of the day. Coming through, enjoy your pregame live streams. I was in it before the home opener. Hopes were crushed, and listen, they might have been crushed again last night, but the biggest thing is we didn't stream last night, so we're not the curse. I want to put that out there right now. But if you guys are enjoying this, if you want more live streams, we're going to continue doing them. So let us know the best time. Would you rather pregame, postgame? Would you rather random off days? Let us know all your thoughts down below, and you could be featured on comments of the day. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and listen, Blues fans, it can only go up, so have a good day.